All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the North Miami CRA Advisory Committee for this Monday, March the 6th, 2023. Can we have a roll call, please?
Blanca Cobo,
Here.
Kenneth Each,
Here.
Michael McDermott,
Here?
Naomi Blimmer, absent, Brenda Alfaro, Marisol Medina, Edwidge Clark,
Here.
Ashaki Bronson Marcellus.
Is that it?
That's it.
Are you on the agenda, on the roll call?
I'm surprised I'm not. I was last time.
What's your name?
Clifford Williams.
I guess you're getting written in, Clifford.
Okay. My list was not complete. Clifford Williams.
Present.
Great.
Okay. All right, and here comes Marisol Medina.
Great.
Okay, can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Flag is to our right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. All right, so we begin with agenda item 1, unless there's any reports.
Well, Mr. Chair, there's no reports, so agenda item 1 is in order.
Okay. All right, can we have agenda item 1, approval of grant agreement with the Museum of Contemporary Art?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is one of the 2 additional items that I handed out.
Right.
That you have hard copy or won't be on your iPad.
Mm-hmm.
This is a new agreement between the CRA and the Museum of Contemporary Art to manage the Art in Public Places program that's in the CRA budget. This is the 3rd year that it's been done. There's just a new agreement needed between the CRA and MoCA.
Okay.
What you'll see attached in there the proposal that MoCA submitted, as well as the budget in accordance with the $70,000 budget line item in the CRA budget.
Okay. All right, is there any presentation
No, sir.
on this? Okay. So how much is the cost going to be for this?
The budget on this is $70,000,
70,000?
and it's
Okay.
for, I believe, 4 separate installations.
Okay. All right, does anybody have any questions on that? Okay. Hearing,
I do have a question.
yeah, okay.
Do the museum get to keep the work?
Your mic?
Do the museum get to keep the work done by the artists?
That is a very good question. Kaz, do you know the answer to that? We can get that answer back to you. The manager of this project was not available today. In general, the Art in Public Places artwork stays with the program.
Right.
Yeah.
That's very,
Okay.
spending a lot of money.
All right, anybody?
I actually had a question. I wanted to ask if this is in any partnership with the city as well? Are they contributing anything towards this?
No, board, committee member. This is just between the CRA and the museum.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Do I hear a motion to approve the item?
So moved.
All right, I have a motion to approve. Second?
I second that.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Agenda item 2, a business attraction grant request from JM Sports Bar, the Cat's Restaurant and Lounge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a business attraction grant. This is located right here in downtown at 738 Northeast 125th Street. The amount that's being requested is, the recommended grant amount is $250,000 of a total project estimate of about $710,000. Staff is here and the applicant is also present to answer any questions about the project. This is Casey Healthy Cooking, and in this location it's going to be Katz's.
Okay. All right. Is there, you said there's someone here to make a presentation on behalf of the,
Well, the applicant is here and is available if he would like to just say a few words about it, but really to answer any questions that you have on it.
Yeah, I would like to hear what he has to say.
okay. Yes, they would like to hear what their project is about.
Okay. Can the folks from CATS, can you come up to the podium and just tell the committee a little bit about your project and what you're proposing to do in the location?
Okay, can you introduce yourselves, your name and address?
Yes, my name is Jerry Dominic. Most people call me Chef Dominic or Chef KC. And my address, I live in North Miami Beach, 510 Northeast 177th Street, North Miami Beach, Florida, 33162.
Okay, and with you is,
Hi, my name is Edwin Mathurin, and my address is 8504 South Anthem Drive in Miramar, Florida.
okay. All right, so can you tell us a little bit about what you're proposing, or what your
Okay.
project's about?
We're proposing to reopen the location 738 where Mocha Cafe and Nomi Bar and Grill used to be, under the name of Cats, the Cats Restaurant and Lounge. The whole project will be about to increase the activity, night activity in particular in downtown North Miami. The restaurant will be close to what Casey Healthy Cooking used to have, but we will have more Haitian dishes available.
Okay. What are your hours gonna be?
During the week, it will be between 8 to 9:30 for the restaurant, and then we'll have the lounge at 9
Okay.
during weekdays, weekend days.
Okay. All right, does anybody have any questions? Ken, you said you had?
Yeah, we put, a few years back, when this was Mocha Calf, we put a ton of money into that place. How much was this grant going for?
250.
250,000 is this grant.
250, and as I recall, Blanca, Mike, you were on the board then, we put about 400,000 into the project back then.
Right.
And so what are we doing with the 250? I'm sorry, I can't get my computer up here, but I mean, we sunk a lot of money into that place. And
Well, my recollection, if I may, Mr.
Certainly.
Executive Director, my recollection is that that was basically something totally different than what they're asking for. When we spent the money there, it was basically a shell of a building, and we installed a lot of the interior equipment and furnishings and that kind of thing, a lot of the design. So from my understanding, recollection of what we spent money on before, really has nothing to do with what they're trying to do now. What they're trying to do, and Mr. Director, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the basis of the grant is to allow them to open and correct a lot of the things, like there's a grease trap problem that costs a lot of money and that kind of thing. So they're trying to reopen the business. The original owners, which were 3 owners before, have since been gone. So, this is, I think, the 3rd owner in line after that.
Right.
But my recollection is that what we did back then has nothing to do with what they're trying to do now.
Well, I can't seem to get my.
Press the button on the right-hand side.
I did, and I'm not getting anything on it. I got Blanca's working, but I'm not getting mine.
Hold on one second.
Thank you. Okay, number 2.
Number 2, item 2.
There we go.
Okay, thank
Got
you.
it? Got it? Okay. Okay, while he's looking for that, does anybody else have any other questions?
Yeah, I do have a question. I see that Casey, can you hear me?
Yeah,
I see that Casey Healthy Foods opened in 2013. Do you guys currently have a physical building anywhere?
No,
No?
not
I mean,
not
it's
right
the
now.
building that they're in now that they want to use the money
Okay,
for.
so you guys are currently there?
Right.
Okay, I
Yes.
was a bit confused. Okay, I see.
He's on the boulevard, isn't he, right now?
No, he's down here
Used to be.
next to Cafe Creme,
No, but I mean, where's he originally at now?
down on the boulevard.
Yeah.
Right, he's you're on 120th Street there, on the boulevard, right?
Yes, that's where
Yeah,
we used to
okay,
be.
all right, so
Yeah.
let me just read this real fast, yeah.
And while he's reading, anybody else have any questions?
Not questions, I just want to just bring forth some clarification. So we want to clarify that Casey Healthy Cooking was once located off of Biscayne Boulevard, correct?
Right.
And Casey Healthy Cooking has since moved to 125th at this location at 738 Northeast 125th, correct?
Correct.
And you have been there for how long?
Almost not me personally, because we try to
Right, how long have you been
to
using
make
the
a
space?
partnership. We try to do a partnership with Nomi Bar and Grill.
Mm-hmm.
That was back in March 2022, and since they did not renew the lease last September, so
This is why you're here now?
yes, so
Okay.
now Edwin and Jean, they took over that space.
Excellent.
The,
So,
the GM.
excellent. So I want to, just for clarification purposes, that prior to you coming here, there was a restaurant in there called Nomi Bar and Grill.
That's correct.
And Nomi Bar and Grill was there for several years,
5.
5 years. And now, since they're vacated, the space is open. And so now you would be taking over the space as a new tenant there, bringing forth Casey Healthy Cooking or that same concept.
Yes,
Okay, so you have absolutely nothing to do with what existed there before.
correct.
Thank you. And then, again, just for clarification purposes, I see that the 250,000 would be going towards painting, flooring, lighting fixtures, security, somewhat of a remodel. Is that correct? This is all for the interior?
Yes,
Okay, and then exterior signage, windows, awnings, paintings, security, lighting. And I see at the bottom, front interior and back signs, bar design, grease trap, kitchen, equipment, flooring, bar remodel, impact windows, cameras, and POS system. Correct?
correct.
Thank you so much. No more questions.
Okay, Mr. Each, do you have a question?
Yeah, just, how much is he putting into it? How much are you putting into the project?
Their total project cost,
700,000?
yep.
710,
Yeah,
yes.
710, yeah.
I'll tell you, that's gonna be a one heck of a beautiful place, because I know we put $250,000 in there a couple of years ago, if I'm not mistaken.
More than that, actually.
Actually, yeah, and then we went, what, 3 owners?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I wish you a lot of luck. I really do. I hope, okay.
They say that the grant, the total project is 710,000,
Right.
105, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of dough, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
Okay, well,
there's a lot of work to be done. Just for example, you can see the grease trap. The grease trap alone is
Really?
is around 100 grand.
And they never cleaned it, or what do they do with it? Nothing?
no, unfortunately, my understanding is that when they took possession of the building, they were not informed, and they only found out after the fact
After,
about the grease trap.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So they sort of got stuck with the grease trap problem, and it's
Yeah.
unfortunate, but it costs a lot of money to deal with that. And
Oh.
Durham is not the easiest people to play in the sandbox with. So,
That's, yeah,
you know.
yeah. Well, good luck to you. I wish you the
Thank you.
best.
Well, I can just tell you that my experience with Casey Healthy Cooking is he's a fabulous chef and has outstanding cuisine, and he'll really be part of what we're trying to do downtown, and that is to try and bring restaurants and local activities and flavor to North Miami, particularly our downtown 125th Street, and I think that I think Casey and Edwards will do an excellent job in getting that done.
It's a very nice fit for downtown and
Very
ties
nice
right
fit
into
for
to the
downtown.
goals of the redevelopment plan.
Yeah. So unless there's any other questions, can I have a motion to approve
I
the
actually have a
item?
question. In the past, I thought our max was $200,000.
Pardon?
Our max normally
Is
is
250.
It's 250 now?
Yep, 250.
Okay. When, if anybody knows, was that modified? Because I've worked with applying for the business grants, and it was topped off at 200,000, as well as Alaska Cafe was topped off at 200,000.
All right, Cass, you want?
Kaz will be able to.
Cass Neville, I'm the project director for the North Miami CRA. The cap for the business attraction is 150,000, but the board and the advisory committee and the executive director, they can waive that match as long as we can do over 50-50 match requirement. And now it meets the criteria because the total project cost is over 700,000, and we're going for 250.
Thank you for that clarification, Cass.
Okay. Mr. Director, can we do it with one vote? We don't need to approve the waiver and then approve the item. We can just do it.
Do one vote.
One vote?
One motion.
Okay. All right, so that being said, do I have a motion to approve the item?
So move.
Oh, okay. A second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you all very much. Good luck.
Good luck.
Look forward to eating there.
Good luck.
Okay. Agenda item 3, a business attraction grant from Silver Spoon.
Yes, Mr. Chair, and the applicant on this is here as well and can tell you a little bit about what they're doing. This is located at 1300 Northeast 125th Street, business attraction grant for a commercial kitchen. The scope of work is exterior renovations, impact windows, doors, lighting. It's a very prominent corner here in the downtown as well. The project cost is just under $400,000, $382,000, and the recommended grant approval for this one is $100,000.
Okay.
I'll invite the applicant up to just tell you a little bit about his project and answer any questions that you have.
Hello, Paul Aceto, Silver Spoon Events. How are you? So, chef here.
Name and address,
Paul
please.
Aceto, Silver Spoon Events. Address is 11710 Northeast 10th Avenue in Biscayne Park, about
Okay.
half a block from here. Been a chef in town for 22 years now. Mandarin Oriental, Zuma, Versace, Joe Stonecraft opened up the takeaway years ago. Been incorporated 2008 with the catering private chef. Traveled globally, but with family and the business clientele I have here, I wanted to do something local for my first project, and we've had successful clients. I had a kitchen in Midtown, a commissary kitchen, which they did also lose the lease this past December. So with this project, I already signed a signed lease, and 3 months in, 99% waiting on, of course, Durham for the approval, but all permits have been approved, and we're waiting on hopefully the CRA funding, and then also construction as soon as the final permits have been approved.
Okay. All right, questions, anyone?
What was the address again?
1300
It used to be a
Northeast
Dominican
125th
spot.
Street.
So you're
Yeah.
just doing the corner lot?
For now, until we get the building, but our friend there, the owner's the electrical engineer owns the building, so we have been talking about getting the building. I have investors, but I'm trying to do this a solo project.
I can't.
And expand into like a mini Epic here, commissary, but we are only for, right now, currently, deliveries only.
Okay.
And until we get the other side, or we do a retail cafe.
That'll
but it's-
definitely help. It's a tight space in there.
Yes, it is tight, but
And a lot of different businesses, same
Yeah.
style, have come through there. And so I'll be
Yeah.
happy to walk on over there.
yeah,
and
and
check you
corporate
guys out.
lunches and takeouts for like Uber Eats and stuff, but our clientele is a little different than a normal caterer, but, and I also do all the athletes for the Miami Heat and all the professional athletes. We do a lot of meal preps delivery to their homes, so we needed the commercial kitchen to scale the business. And because now we're work overload with the business is real successful, so we needed this commercial space to expand.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Any questions from anyone?
No questions, just want to, just for clarification purposes, the funds are going as listed, painting, flooring, as well as security. When you say security, exactly what is, you talking about cameras?
Yeah, there are cameras. I think we need to update everything. I mean, obviously interiors, the grease traps are a big project, new electrical board. The exterior, which we're going for the beautification, it would be the painting, and it's the old brick building. It's an old, so we want to modernize it, take off the awnings, do their hurricane impact windows, and then also have contractors for like the fake grass hedge to do a more modern look in that. And I also we talked to Cass about commissioning a local artist to do like a mural on the wall with North Miami on the building, because that attraction when traffic heads east on 125th heading to Biscayne, they're stopped bumper to bumper, and you'd see that big white wall. We'd have a nice a painting, whether it's food or culture, in the community.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You're west of the tracks or east of?
We're just west of the tracks, west of StoreQuest.
I'm trying to, what,
Across from the gas station, there's the old gas station.
You
It's-
know the place that's Tesla now?
the one,
Yeah,
The
where's
Tesla location?
It's
Yeah,
close
the
to the
old,
elementary
it's
school.
it's the old dry cleaner.
Yes,
Oh,
so it's in front
okay.
of the dry cleaner.
okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm trying to visualize it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody have any questions?
And you're taking over the whole,
There's, I guess, the corner
just
unit.
just a little corner with a
Yeah, a garage,
okay.
basically, but about a little under 1,000 square feet.
Okay.
How much?
Under 1,000 square feet.
Okay, all right.
I have another question. The pictures that you've uploaded, are those current images of renovations that are going on?
Is this the rendering or the?
It's a, let me see here. I think this is the contractor uploaded some images.
Is this the kitchen built out already?
No, it looks like the floor's been ripped out and there's masonry work.
Then that's what it was. It was just a storage facility, like you said before. There was that Latin cafeteria, I believe.
Okay,
But they didn't have anything as far as grease traps or the fire suppressant hoods. Everything has been ordered and paid
oh,
for.
wow.
So I'm waiting on that, but it's ready. I mean, we're ready to go as soon as we get approved for everything.
And that rendering that you're showing of the exterior of the building, is that what you intend on doing with the building?
Daytime and nighttime pictures, yes,
Yeah.
we want to modernize that corner because that's everything, I guess, east of this downtown towards the railroad tracks is a little rough around the edges.
Yeah, well, you're in the
Um,
industrial park.
Yeah, which I like that spot because
Well, you're
like a
down the
challenge.
street from the brewery. It's a good combination.
correct.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, unless there's any other questions, do we have a motion to move the item?
So move.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank
Good
you
luck.
for your time. Thank you.
We move on to item 4, rehabilitation grant request from West Dixie Highway LLC.
Yes, Mr. Chair, this is a additional grant request for the property located at 12700 West Dixie Highway. In this item, you will see a couple of photos of the building as it is today, and you'll recognize it. It's around the corner on West Dixie Highway, near the former older theater building that's over there. This is a request by the current tenant, Acadia Health, and the work is some exterior renovations, impact windows and doors, and resurfacing in the parking lot with landscaping in the parking lot. The project cost is about $128,000. The request is 50% of that, so just under $65,000. The applicant
Yeah, it's the old
is not here,
Clifford's.
but the project manager can answer some questions if you have any.
Okay. Yeah, it's the old Clifford's restaurant.
Yes.
Okay.
Which one was that,
A while
Mike?
ago.
It's, you know where it used to be the Miami Way Theater? on
Yeah,
West
yeah,
East
yeah,
Ave.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, right,
The
yeah,
rest-
yeah,
There was
yeah.
a restaurant right next door.
Yeah,
to
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That
yeah.
restaurant's been out of business for a while, been
Oh, my.
sitting vacant, so.
Yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
So the health facility next door, I guess, wants to expand in there. Is there someone here from the applicant, you say?
The applicant is not, but Kaz will tell you a little bit about it.
All right, Kaz.
Well, they're applying for rehabilitation, which is up to 100,000 with a 50-50 match requirement. The total project cost is 128,000, and they are requesting 50% of that, which will be covering windows, impact windows, doors, landscaping, and parking lot resurfacing.
Okay. And this is going to be extension of the medical facility?
No, I think they have a new tenant, which is Acadia Health, which already started there. They already started some renovations. They paint the building. They just need help with the windows, and which I think will provide some help in helping the building look wonderful.
Okay.
It was mentioned that we had helped them before.
No.
This
No.
is a new tenant. that's
This is a new
asking.
tenant. Yeah, we have not done any work with them. There's also a maintenance period of 5 years for the rehabilitation and the business attraction, and they have not applied in the past 5 years.
Okay. All right, does anybody have any questions?
I have a few questions. How do you pronounce your name? Taz?
Kasnev, I go by Kas, it's shorter, yeah.
Okay, Kasnel. Kasnel, can you just give me an overview of what your role is?
Well, as a project director, I overview the commercial rehabilitation, the commercial grants, the residential grants, we have emergency grants as well that we do. Anything that is related to projects, capital projects, that I oversee them for the CRA.
Okay, so that's why you would be able to stand in the owner's stead tonight.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah, he's basically our commercial grants manager.
for the CRA.
Right.
Right. He's the one that works with. Sorry, he's the one who's working with the applicants as they come through the grant process.
Okay, and this is ongoing.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. Thank you so very much.
Okay. Anyone else with any questions? No. Okay, can I have a motion to move the item?
I'd make a motion that we move the item.
Second.
Okay, barring any further questions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, thank you, everybody. Okay, item 5 is approving the general contractor for housing inspection services for residential rehab program.
Yes, Mr. Chair, this is the other item that you have as a hard copy that was handed out. You will see a little bit different of a title in the memo that is from purchasing, but this is a recommendation of award. And the purchasing director is here to present the item. This relates to the CRA's housing rehabilitation grants and the inspections to ensure compliance with those grants as they're done, and that the work that's done meets all of the CRA requirements in them. And I'll turn it over to Alberto.
Sure. Good evening, committee members. Alberto Estrada, Purchasing Director for the City of North Miami. So just following up on what Mr. Crowder mentioned, this is basically a request for your approval and recommendation to the board to enter into an agreement with a company by the name of Green ERA Sustainable Consulting, Inc., essentially to provide sort of a quality assurance and inspection services for their residential rehabilitation program. You know, you've seen today there's several commercial grants that the CRA engages in, but this is another part of their initiatives in terms of economic redevelopment for the City of North Miami. So in order to support that initiative, this contract would bring on board this company and essentially the CRA would use them to provide them with quality control, to provide inspections. They'll assist in the bidding process, as well as to provide sort of a project closeout and survey with the homeowners, all with the purpose to ensure the highest quality work in terms of residential rehabilitation, as well as satisfaction to the homeowners. So that would be essentially the work that this company would be undertaking. There is one thing that I should bring to your attention, that we are moving forward with this, a recommendation for what's known as a bid waiver, and the bid waiver would require from the board a 4/5 vote. So I just want to bring that to the attention. I don't know that that requirement also applies to the committee. So essentially, the committee would be in a position to either, approve this and recommend it to the board, but that's what you have before you, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to take them.
Okay, yeah, I have a question. So this is mainly, for the housing rehab part, correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chair. That's, essentially the housing part of it, not for any of the commercial grants.
Okay, just for the housing, okay. All right. Anyone have, Kevin, he brought up a question, that's a good question. Are we gonna have to have a 4/5 vote of the members present? Or what is the requirement?
Mr.
as
Chair,
far-
no, in the purchasing requirements, the CRA board has to follow the same purchasing requirements as the city has.
Right.
Your role is advisory, you're making a recommendation, so you
So
do
it's a
not have a
simple
supermajority
majority.
requirement on yours.
Just a simple majority.
So can I ask a question? Was this competitively bid?
No, that's precisely the reason why we're moving forward with a bid waiver. In my discussions with CRA staff, this is a company that has an extensive amount of experience in the area of housing rehabilitation. So based on their qualifications and their experience, they and myself also, we are making the recommendation to move forward with a bid waiver. By the way, bid waivers take place, from time to time, whenever they're necessary. So this is nothing, I don't want to scare you. It's nothing unusual about this. It's actually allowed for within the city's code of ordinances. So, but I have to mention that because it does take just simply a 4/5 vote of the board members. So it's just simply, I guess, a procedural matter that's required by the code of ordinances of the city.
Okay.
And I would,
Have you dealt with these people before?
I'm familiar with the firm, yes, I am.
So you're familiar with the firm?
Yes.
And you feel it's a good firm?
I'm familiar with their qualifications. Obviously, I'm not a project manager,
Right,
right? Our
right.
function is a procurement function, but I know the firm and the principal of the firm, so I'm familiar with the work, and they're very qualified in this area of housing rehabilitation.
and Mr. Chair, I would just add, we're comfortable making this recommendation for this selection for a couple of reasons. One is, out of the two prices you have, this is the lower one, rather than the 15% would end up being more than $2,000 per house. And the depth of experience that provider has, specifically with the city of North Miami and its processes and its regulatory departments, will help just move this through in a very efficient way.
Okay.
So, just so
question?
I'm clear, so
Sure.
there was 2 proposals submitted, you just didn't get 3?
That's correct. Well, actually, right, and the procurement code actually would require, in addition to that, it would require what are called, once you go into the competitive sealed bid process, it's an entirely different process. It sort of takes a little more time to go through that process. Again, in a situation like this, where staff feels strongly that the vendor that's being recommended has the qualifications and the requisite experience to provide the services that are necessary for this program, then, I feel comfortable making the recommendation. In my discussions with CRA staff, with Mr. Crowder and Cass, we all feel, comfortable in making this recommendation to the board. Obviously, the committee has to approve it to go to the board.
And I believe that this provider provides similar services already to the city.
Okay. Okay, any other questions?
I have just a few questions. I'm sorry, what's your,
I'm sorry, and I realized as we were going through that we had done the roll call, but I had not introduced myself.
Oh, okay.
My name is Kevin Crowder,
mhm.
and I was going to get into it more on an item that's coming up. I was appointed by the CRA board on February 14th as the interim executive director of the CRA. A little bit about my background. I've been a consultant, the redevelopment consultant to the CRA since about 2015, but with my firm since 2018, providing a range of different services, and there's actually an item where you can see the different services that we provide. With the transition of the former executive director and the severance that was moved through the board at its February 14th meeting, at that same meeting, they asked my firm to step into the interim executive director role and perform those services while a search is done to fill the position. I have a staff that's performed this role before, significant depth of experience in CRAs. So we're here to keep the CRA, help the staff just keep moving their programs forward, look for opportunities to bring some efficiencies. I'll talk more about that when we get to that separate item.
So as of February 14th, not you, but your firm, what is the name of your firm?
Business Flair.
Business Flair?
Flair, F-L-A-R-E, all one word.
Okay, great.
Sure.
So my next question is, exactly why are we waiving the bid? I know you stated that you're comfortable with this firm. Obviously, the city has worked with them before, but specifically, why are you waiving the bid?
Well, again, based on the qualifications of the firm and the type of work that is going to be asked of them, staff felt comfortable in making this recommendation.
So there's no time constraint?
No, there's no specific time constraints. What staff did do is they were able to secure another proposal, just to have two proposals. They're provided to you in the package, just to give you sort of a comparison, so it's not just one proposal. But you know, it's entirely up to the advisor, to the committee. If you don't feel comfortable with this,
I would just add one more thing to it. And I'm not sure if the committee had met when this happened. Recently, the CRA expanded its list of, the list of contractors that perform this work on behalf of the CRA doing the housing rehabilitations. And I'm not sure, it went from 5 to 15,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
And so we envision this work is going to accelerate in terms of the number of people and the number of homes that are going through the program. And so that's one of the needs, to really get on an inspector to be able to help with that workload, because it's not something that's manageable by staff. And you want to make sure that everything's being complied with, that the work has been done correctly before the final payments are made and all of that. But we expect this to pick up given the expansion of the contractor list.
No, I mean, I think that's great. I just, my specific question is, if there's not a time constraint, why would we not shop around to see what else is available?
sure.
Sure. Yes, there is, because the program has already started. We have received applications, and we also have applicants from the previous fiscal year that are waiting for contractors. And we're also changing the process from, instead of pairing a grantee with a contractor, this is going to be a competitive process where we are going to write the scope of work, and we are going to give it to other contractors for them to bid it, so it can be more competitive. And we also need a third party to verify the work and approve that the work was done, not only to code, but to the quality of work.
And do we have examples of the work they've done before?
Yes, we have.
But we don't have them in front of us.
Okay.
No, that's the question. I mean, it was not presented today.
No, they are not. The examples of their work are not in the package.
Thank you.
May I say something? This is totally random. If you look on the third page, there's a picture there. I didn't realize it. I've actually worked with this company before, and my picture is actually on here. And I do want to say they do good work. I wasn't expecting my picture to be there. But when I volunteer, when I do work around different communities with rehab, with my fraternity and different volunteers, they're the only one that I've seen doing work. if that means anything to the advisory board. So,
And I would just also to address the timeliness to us, it is a timeliness issue as well because of the expansion of the contractor pool that's going to accelerate projects. I think that also $2,000 a home, a total of up to maybe $76,000 was another of the, if this had been a much larger number, we probably would have gone into a more formal RFP process that's more cumbersome. But I think that just the fact that we were only able to get 2 quotes also, I think shows us that you know, this is probably the, you know, it's why I'm comfortable making the recommendation.
Okay. And Clifford, you were a volunteer in that picture, right?
yeah.
Okay. All right. Anybody else
I
have
have
a
an additional question.
Yes.
Would this still go through the planning, sorry, not the planning, the permitting department, and they'd have to do all of this? Would this organization help them through that process? Through permitting and,
Yes, there are going to be a liaison between the contractor and the homeowner as well, yeah.
that's very nice.
Because, again, it takes forever to get, which I'm sure you're aware with the permitting process. I have to go to the building department. I do have a good relationship with the building department, but having a third party will not only allow the process to go by faster, but it'll be smoother. And we were trying to make sure that the homeowners are very happy with the work that we're doing.
Wonderful. No, that's a very nice thing to hear, because it can be very daunting as a professional to go into that space, let alone a resident trying to figure out uncharted lands.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, just if I may, a minute, and this may actually work against what we're trying to accomplish, but I have, if nothing else, all my life always taken a lot of pride in being transparent in all the work that I do. And I just wanted to, just to clarify to the gentleman that I believe the pictures that you're referring to are actually of the other firm, which we are not recommending. We're
Oh, really?
recommending, right.
That's funny.
So, no. And, you know, it might work
I see it
against
with
my
the-
favor, but you know what? I always believe that transparency and honesty is always the best policy as a public servant, which I've been for over 30 years of my life.
Wow.
So I never like to leave the folks that I'm working with, and certainly a committee like yours, with any sort of, you know, misunderstanding or misimpression. And, you know, I'd rather take a no than have a yes or an approval on their less than, you know, clear picture.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Sonnet. We appreciate that. So, barring any further question, do I have a motion to approve the item?
I make a motion that we approve the item.
You have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed?
No.
Oh, okay. Motion passes 6-1.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you. Okay, we're moving on to item number 6, approving the construction proposal for Pioneer Boulevard sculpture base.
Yes, Mr. Chair, this is the item for, and I believe you will have a couple pages in, you'll see the sculpture that was selected for Pioneer Boulevard for, located at 6th Avenue and Pioneer Boulevard. This is for the base that needs to be fabricated for the sculpture itself. The 3 bids came in. The lowest one that is recommended, it was $57,900.
Okay. Any questions, anyone?
Yeah, this is gonna be at the west side of Pioneer Boulevard, adjoining 6th Avenue, from what I'm making out.
Yes, sir.
Now, that's not taken away from the Frog Pond, right? That's gonna still be there to, and
Correct. This is further to the west than the Frog Pond.
And what is the theme? I'm looking at this, and what's this supposed to be?
So you'll see a couple of pages in. It's
Yeah, I was looking at it, I'm trying to make heads or tails of it. Now, this, let me say, I got this right. The sculpture's already done. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
And that's been selected already?
This is the base.
Yes, the
Okay,
sculpture
so
has
now
already
we're
been
gonna build the base
fabricated.
for the sculpture.
And you'll see a picture a little further into the item of the actual sculpture itself that's been fabricated
I see that, yeah.
and is ready to be installed. It just needs to have the base fabricated for it.
Okay?
I have
any-
a few questions. When did we choose this?
That was in 2022.
So the sculpture was chosen,
It was, yeah, there was a committee, an arts committee through the, I think it was called the Arts and Public Places
Right.
Committee,
Mhm.
where they had to choose an artist. There was a call out to artists, and there was one artist that was selected, and then that was what was approved by the committee, yes.
okay, so it's already chosen.
Yes, yeah, it has been chosen, it has been fabricated, we just need to install it.
Right.
Yes.
The CRA had budgeted, I believe, $100,000 for the
Mm.
sculpture itself in maybe 2021. Then it went through the Art and Public Places process. The artist was selected, the sculpture has been fabricated, and the next step is to fabricate the base so that it can be installed.
And exactly how much is the base itself?
$57,900.
And how much has already been spent on this?
Only the prior allocations, so this is out of this year's budget, and there had been a prior allocation of $100,000 towards the program in the past.
So this sculpture that we're putting up has cost us about $160-something thousand.
No, the sculpture cost us around 25,000,
Mm-hmm.
and the base is going to cost 57,000.
Okay,
Actually, yes, and I misspoke. The $25,000 for the sculpture is out of $100,000 that was allocated for Pioneer Boulevard itself.
okay.
Okay, any other questions? All right, hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve item 7?
Make a motion to approve item 7.
Okay,
Second.
second. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Okay, we're moving on, I'm sorry, item 6. So it was item 6, we go back, I'm sorry.
It was item 6.
That was
Item 6, okay. Moving on to item 7, approving an amendment of the agreement between the North Miami CRA and Business Flair LLC to add interim executive director services.
Yes, maybe we should have done this one at the beginning. So to introduce this item, Mr. Chair, I mentioned briefly, my name's Kevin Crowder. I own a firm, Business Flair. We do economic development, redevelopment consulting, master planning consulting for cities, counties, and CRAs around the state of Florida and in a couple of other states. We have a team of about 12 people, a lot of different disciplines. Since 2015, we have consulted for the North Miami CRA, including the 2016 amendment to the CRA plan and the associated moving through the extension of the life of the CRA. We were asked, as I mentioned, at the February 14th meeting under this contract to assume, and there's one piece of this contract that is any other redevelopment type services that the CRA asks us for. But what we wanted to do is come back with the specific executive director duties that we would be performing only during an interim period, making sure that there's continuity and stability with the CRA, making sure that staff is able to move forward and implement the plan and work on the programs that they're already working on, look for efficiencies, also moving through working on an update to the CRA plan. It hasn't been updated since 2016. It's time for an update. Working with the county on adjustments that'll be beneficial to the CRA in the methodology used for the tax increment that the CRA receives. Working on priority projects and a potential bond issue to fund those projects, amongst other things. What we have proposed is a limited 4-month scope that to us, when we look at the timeline, would include just 1-month transition with whoever is ultimately selected as the permanent director. I was asked at that meeting, and I've been asked a few times, we are not submitting for the permanent executive director position. There are You know, it's not unheard of for there to be companies that do that, but it's not part of our line of work, the way that stepping in an interim basis is. So what this amendment to our scope does is add the executive director duties to our agreement for that 4-month period.
And the cost is going to be?
The cost is $67,000.
$7,500.
Right. The cost is what the prior executive director was receiving. What I would tell you is that what you're getting during this 4-month period is you're getting the resources of my firm and not just a one-person executive director.
Mhm.
So you have a member of my firm who is going to be at least 3 days a week in the CRA office, who has served previously as the deputy director and interim executive director of the West Palm Beach CRA. We have a former municipal parks director. We have on my team the former CRA manager for Miami Beach, who I worked with over there. So we have architect and urban designer on our team. And so we have those different disciplines that we'll be bringing sort of all into bear to really kind of not just take the CRA through this transition period, but really get it really set up for, you know, even better success as you bring a permanent director on.
And you mentioned you forgot to mention the most important item,
What's that?
continuity.
Oh, absolutely. You know, transition is always challenging when you have leadership transitions,
That's right.
whether it's a city manager position, a CRA director
Mhm.
position and such.
Yeah.
And so that's something that's very important to us to make sure that that's managed.
Well, I think there needs to be, I think you need what you would, in my mind, what you would bring to the table is the continuity going forward through a transition of a difficult period, challenging period, and also preparing for the new executive director to step in rather than having to go through the time and effort to try and play catch-up. So, and that's important with our CRA.
And I would add something else is well, this sort of interim service is something we can offer to our clients. We don't do it often. But in this case, it was something very important for us because a couple of people on the committee know this, but not everyone does. Well, we work around the state. We even work in other states. Our offices are in North Miami. Our offices are at 1175 125th Street.
Right.
You know, there's a reason that we came here. You know, we've been working with this CRA for a long time, and so this CRA has a special place to our team,
Right.
which is why when we were asked to perform this service, we agreed to it.
Right. Okay, is there anybody has any questions?
Yes, I do. I have a couple of questions. So, just to clarify, you're saying that this is part of a 2-part agreement? Is that correct?
This is an amendment to the existing consulting agreement between the CRA and my firm.
Where is the original agreement?
It is attached to the item.
It's the,
All the way at the bottom?
So what you will see is you will see the first page of the agreement, the scope of work, Section 1, Economic Development, Redevelopment Services, Section 2, Economic, Financial, and Market Analysis. That is the existing agreement. And then on the very last page, you'll see Amendment 1, which is the additional executive director scope of work.
So the original agreement is $150,000 a month?
Per year,
No, it says this,
To be invoiced monthly.
to be invoiced monthly. But it's annually $150,000.
okay. And then the additional that you're adding to it is $3,570 weekly?
Yes.
And this $3,570 weekly that is in addition to it, why is that? At the time when they first asked you to come on, they did not include all of these other requirements?
No, because at the time, the CRA had its executive director who was performing these duties.
And you were coming on just to do what?
We were coming on to do what you see in the scope of work in number 1, 2, and 3 earlier in the document. So
While we had an executive director, you came on to provide the original services?
right. So you had an executive director, you have your staff running your programs, and you had our firm as the CRA's redevelopment consultant
And how long have you been the consultant for the CRA?
since 2015.
Okay. And then this additional $3,570, you're proposing that it would be for a total of 4 months?
Yes.
Okay, that's all the questions.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from anyone?
She asked my questions for me.
Oh,
which I
okay,
appreciate. Thank you.
okay. Kenny?
No, I'm good.
No? You
Edward?
got the answers?
Edward?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Marisol?
No, I'm good. It's pretty
Okay,
clear.
all right. Okay, on agenda item 7, do I hear a motion to approve the items?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
May I second?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? If none, can I, motion to approve? Everybody say yes, or?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all right, so it passes 6-1. Okay,
Thank you.
all right, let's move on to, we don't have our CRA attorney here tonight, so, anything additional, Mr. Executive Director?
No, sir, there's no other executive director report today, other
Okay.
than just to again reiterate that, you know, we're here to help. I want to make sure that each of you have my contact info. Reach out to me on anything that you need, and we talk a little bit more. We're going to be working over the next couple of weeks, finalizing sort of our work plan to really kind of, you know, not just on the stuff that Kaz and the team work on in their day-to-day implementation of programs, but the other things that are a little more big picture, you know, and strategic planning perspective. You know, we're thinking about maybe a board training, different types of things, make sure that everybody's up to speed. And as I said, conversations also about the plan update, because it's been a while since the CRA plan itself was updated.
I also, if you would be so kind, I asked the question a couple months ago and I didn't get an answer. I know a lot was going on. Our board requires an ethics training, and I don't recall that we had an ethics training this year. So could you please check that out to see whether or not that we are in need for an ethics workshop for us?
Certainly.
I'd appreciate that. Okay.
Mike, that would encompass once a year, but that covers all of our boards, correct? If we're on multiple boards beside the CRA.
Yeah,
I think
it covers
encompasses-
all the boards, but I
Right.
think in the past, the CRA has been the initiator of the ethics training.
We
They've
would
been the
have
one-
it over here in City Hall.
Yeah, we had it, we
Yeah.
had it here in the council chambers the last time we had it, so.
Yes, and one of the first things that our team is going to be doing has already started is going back, just, you know, checking Chapter 163, where
Right.
all of the status of all of the different compliance things. And you're right, I think that, you know, CRAs are one of the specific agencies in Florida statute that have specific ethics requirements. And so I
Right.
think that's why the CRA a lot of times is the
Is the
initiator.
instigator of the project.
Yep.
Yeah, if you check that for me, I'd appreciate it.
Certainly.
Okay. Okay, any public comments? Going once, going twice?
Somebody coming up?
Do you have any yes? Yes, please. Just give your name and address again. KC, you're back.
Yes, Jerry Dominic, 510 Northeast 177th Street, North Miami Beach, Florida, 33162. No, I don't know if this is the forum to talk about this, but since that I'm here, I'll be brief on it to talk about the situation of the grease trap that Adrian and I and Jane, we've been through it for the past almost 4 months since they took over the Nomi place and then paying $15,000 a month, and the place is closed. We're hoping to open in April. So, and I know we're not the only one in that. Going to the building department and the zoning, I met people that's been going through this for 5 years, still don't have it. 2 years, still don't have it. I know Cafe Creme alone, they went for 11 months because of that situation. And I don't know how the city might be able to tag this, because I don't think we should allow landlord, I don't care about the other community, not Miami. We should not allow landlord to lease a property under the term commercial property if it's a restaurant. If it's a restaurant on that list, they need to name it as restaurant. I'm going to explain to you why. By them doing that, on top of it, they charge you a turnkey. Turnkey, I'm guessing that's meant the place is ready. When somebody charges you $65,000 a turnkey, the place needs to be ready. So that means the grease trap need to be functional. So that should not happen in the first place, because what happened now? We asking some financial help from the CRA to take care of tenant improvement. So almost half of that money going to spend on an item that was not part of our budget. And we're not the only one. If you, I don't know if all of you is aware of the situation with the property 975 Northeast 125th Street, where it's a single building where Madame T. John used to be. Same thing. It was leased by Florida to, what's the name? Caribbean, Gene Caribbean Cuisine. They had to move out because they could not function with the grease trap. And then that property had a turnkey, $45,000 on it. And then it could not open. And I can go on and on and on. We need to do something about it. And then that needs to start by at the owner level. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Okay, all right.
I have a question, Mr. Chair, to our project, I guess project director, project manager. Based on what he just brought forth, are there any remedies? What kind of solutions can we bring to him and others who may be in his situation? If, as the CRA, if we are here to ensure that we remove slum, blight, and bring new businesses into the city, if they're coming into the city and they're getting a lease that states that everything is in order, but if they're a restaurant, the main thing is not in order, and the main thing being the trap, how is everything in order? What can we do as a city to ensure that that doesn't happen, and when they find themselves in that situation, we quickly find solutions for them?
I can give you some thoughts on that. As I mentioned, before I was in the consulting field, I was Economic Development Director for Miami Beach for 17 years. So I dealt a lot with stories like this.
Okay.
I dealt a lot with businesses that we worked with to try and get in our city, and then I have to turn them over to a regulatory process that gets cumbersome. I also dealt with a lot of businesses who came in whose reality was very different than what they were sold by the brokers. So there's some additional understanding from this specific situation to understand. There are some different jurisdictional pieces. There's most of what was described are not under CRA authority. However, you're exactly right. The CRA's goal is facilitating this type of business investment and attracting these businesses in. And you don't want them to have these sorts of experiences. So understanding what those remedies are and being able to, as your question is, get them into the right process, whatever that process is. It may be partly related to oversight in the real estate brokerage area. You have a new city manager coming in, so understanding where the regulatory departments such as building and code and those inspection pieces can play a role to maybe streamline this is something that we can definitely take a look at, especially as we go through this interim and looking at how we enhance that relationship between the city and the CRA, especially those regulatory departments, so that by the time we exit the interim position, again, the CRA is in that much better of a position dealing with these sort of issues. This is, I can tell you, this is one of my passions is this specific business friendliness and receptiveness issue.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Kevin, didn't we at one time, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I believe it was when Rasha was here, one of the things that she wanted, one of the things that Rasha, who is now going to be our city manager, was that she was trying to get an inspection service for when we were giving grants out to businesses that were, that were trying to get established, that we had some sort of inspection or oversight to make sure that they were viable to begin with. Because if you give somebody a grant for $100,000 and they have to wait 14 months to even get started, that's really not effective use of our money. And I don't know whether anything ever came of that. Maybe Kaz knows, and I know, of course, you've been here since 2015, so I remember that was something that Rasha was trying to put into place to make sure that these businesses were, viable and that we weren't getting ripped off by what the contractors were charging and that kind of thing. But that would be an answer, wouldn't it?
Potentially. I think what we want to do is understand a little more of what are all of those different critical paths that are between, before someone signs a lease. This is the other big piece, and this is what I've experienced a lot in a lot of other places, is you have so many businesses that end up signing a lease before they engage with City Hall, and it's hard to capture them. It's hard to meet them before they, kind of get past a point of no return, and they're having to deal with things like this once they get into a space. So, I don't have the answers today, but it's some different thoughts that we can have, especially if we have. I mean, this is a space that we're talking about right here that is very prominent. It's a space that a lot of us are aware of. That you would think of as a priority space to fill. So thinking about proactively things that the CRA can work with the city to, and with property owners, with brokers that are out there to try and mitigate and accelerate some of these things up front.
And you mentioned that sometimes with brokers, it's hard to really, they don't follow through like they should on behalf of their tenants. So
there are some approaches with the real estate industry that are very effective, that we've had some good experience with, that we would look to enhance here.
I thought the idea that Rasha had back then was a great idea, so.
Right.
So the timeline would be the proprietor, the entrepreneur, he would go to the broker, and the broker would take him to the landlord, and then he would sign the lease, make the investment,
Right.
and come to the CRA.
And so what sometimes happens is, and I would tell you in my experience working on the city side, is we saw maybe 15% of the businesses before they signed a lease. So that process where a business is looking for space, a business may engage their own broker, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes they just find the space that's available, and the space has its own broker. But however you go through that, having a place that the CRA or the city, if it's not in the CRA, can have a touch point with that prospect, so they really understand, what their different options are. And again, how to identify these sorts of challenges, I need to think through what role, if any, the CRA might have there. But at least getting the information, which is sort of a caution out there in terms of just a checklist of, have you done all of these things before you sign a lease?
How about
That was the first thing we did, is we put that at the occupational license desk at City Hall, so that people, even when they're coming in to find out the process to get their license, they at least have that checklist of things to do.
So there's no due diligence prior to signing the lease?
A lot of times, no.
Not that the city or the CRA are necessarily involved in.
Right.
Usually these are private transactions that happen between two private individuals. A small percentage of them will reach out to local governments, usually economic development departments or CRAs. A lot of the times that's more to find out about the market demand and what's going on, but it provides that opportunity to at least give some some caution and again, that checklist on things to
Right.
look for before you make that obligation.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to deal with people signing leases for uses that weren't authorized by the zoning district that the building was in.
Mhm.
Is it possible, knowing with your expertise and your knowledge of this and having current business owners stating that this is what they're going through, is it possible that as a project manager, this is something that CATS can put together, some kind of checklist? We're not, we're not the ones negotiating the contract, but we're telling them, listen, if this is the type of business that you're gonna open, then you should make sure that this checklist is checked off, so that we are somehow showing them that we're partnering with them from day one and not allowing them to get into a situation where you're paying $15,000, I don't know if I heard correctly, $15,000 a month?
Yes.
That
Yes.
is ridiculous.
Right.
That
You're
is
right,
ridiculous.
because for those few businesses, again, you're looking for those opportunities that a business might reach out or might connect with City Hall before they're in that position. A business that's researching potential grant opportunities might be one of those businesses. So even just having, a one-page, just, have you thought about this? And it
Checklist.
could be, who knows, the Realtor Association may already have something that's sort of a best practice on that. And I'm sure that there's some other CRAs and cities that have approached this as well.
Right, and I think what Chef Dominique brought forward is that in the city of North Miami, we should be more proactive about this and ensure that it does not happen, versus stating that it may or may not, and then if and when it does, we deal with it. I think we should be a little bit more proactive. Thank you.
And I think the other thing I would do is identify, we might identify a few other of the commercial grantees that have been awarded over the last whatever period, and just inquire about their process
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
different
Problems that-
bottlenecks that they hit, to make sure that we're being comprehensive, and not just one process, but being a little
Mhm.
more comprehensive on the different paths that applicants have gone through.
Yeah. Okay, I don't see anybody else out there, so, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I actually have a little question. I wanted to follow up on something I had requested in our last meeting, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
I had recommended to go to the board about readdressing our interlocal agreement for the funds, because anything over the $1 million marker, we have to send back
Yes.
to the county. Do you guys know if that was moved forward in the board meeting, or if it was even brought up at the meeting?
It was brought up, and it is one of my tasks. And it was brought up during the item where they made the appointment of the firm as interim executive director, was in addition to doing the update to the redevelopment plan and other pieces, is to go back to the county and move those forward, those conversations forward. And we're working on finalizing this week an accelerated timeline to do so. Yes.
Great. I had another question about the freebie or busy bee service. I saw that we granted $250,000, which I thought was a great move. A lot of cities pay $400,000 for that service on a yearly basis. And then in the following meeting in the city council, they approved an additional $500,000. Are you aware of how many vehicles we're working with?
I do not know
I
the number
didn't
of
see it.
vehicles yet. The item that was actually approved is not an additional 500,000, it's a total 500,000. The contract between, and what was approved is the agreement between Freebie and the city. The CRA budgeted up to $250,000 towards that contract, but towards the 500.
Oh,
For the use within the CRA. That item, we will be doing a funding agreement with the city, and that will be coming to you on your April, on your April agenda.
I might be misspeaking, but I saw $750,000. It looked like it was a total amount, no?
No.
Okay, just wanted to check, because I was like, that's way past any other city.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. And so that is an item, and if you have any questions about the freebie item, let me know, and we'll have those even before we bring the item. But yeah, you'll have that funding agreement in April.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the additional question time.
Okay. All right, we have, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Thank you, everybody.